Hello and welcome to the Cozy Painter. My name is Sky. I bought a couple of pre-built blood angels from a local game store, and today I'm going to try and convert them into white scars. I start by removing any blood angel specific iconography, as well as the heads, and I start scraping off any mold lines that the previous owner may have missed. I really like the scale of the Primaris, but I prefer the style of the Firstborn Marines, so I'm going to try and combine those elements with this project. I'll cut away the raised lip above the knee pads to be more in line with the Firstborn style. And after the surgery is done, I'm going to sand down some of the rougher cuts that I made and try and get all the surfaces to be smooth. And here are the headless dudes after I finished, including a test model that I made a few years ago. I let them soak overnight in simple green. And what I thought was red paint was actually just the color of the plastic. So from here, I start test fitting and converting these guys into proper white scars. Hunting trophies, fur pelts, religious iconography, and even Firstborn Marine heads. I picked up most of these bits at the same time I bought the dudes, but some of them are 3D printed. I printed these 3D shoulder icons, and even though I had some trouble with them fitting and breaking, they came out pretty well overall. After the converting was done, the next step was to start painting, starting with Stynylrez Res Black Primer, which I spray all over the model through an airbrush. I then apply an all-over spray of Vallejo Mecha Color Gray-Green. This will introduce a warmer tone into the shadows, which should contrast nicely with the cooler shades to follow. Next up is Citadel Ulthuan Gray, which I spray from about a 45-degree angle. This will be the main white color of the armor, leaving us plenty of room for more highlights of pure white. Last, I spray Citadel White Scar from almost directly above the model. I should have pushed the highlights further, but I was afraid of blowing it out. Lastly, I re-established my shadows with another application of Vallejo Gray-Green. For this project, I tried using oil paints for the first time. After thinning down the oil paints with white spirits, the paint easily runs off the brush and fills the recesses of the model. This process is painless and gives great results quickly. I let that dry for a couple hours. Then, using a sponge with pure white spirits, I wicked away the oil paint that spread where I didn't want it and cleaned up the model. I let this dry for over 24 hours, giving plenty of time for the oil paint to set. Once that oil paint had dried, I started blocking in the main colors of our white scar, starting with Citadel Mephiston Red. Then I blocked in the gold details using Vallejo Polish Gold. After that comes the black details, using Citadel Abaddon Black. I used Leadbelcher for all of the silver metallic bits, like his bolter and these little air vent thingies that he has on his backpack. I hit the parchment and purity seals with Citadel Ushabti Bone, and the red wax with Citadel Contrast Blood Angels Red. I painted these banners with Citadel Rakarth Flesh. During this process, my cat, who's clearly a worshipper of Tzeentch, decided to change the hairstyle and facial features of my sergeant. Chaos works in mysterious ways. Now I begin applying washes to the details that I had blocked in earlier, starting with Druchii Violet to all the gold bits, and Nuln Oil to nearly everything else. I then re-established some of the Mephiston red that got stained by the Nuln Oil earlier. Next comes the highlights. I start by hitting the red bits with Citadel Evil Sun Scarlet, being careful not to accidentally knock my brush around. On the chapter icon, I alternate the direction of the highlights on either side of the lightning bolt to try and bring in more visual interest. On his battlefield designation marker, I glazed black down towards the shadows, and I glazed the scarlet up towards the highlights. The next highlight is an even smaller area using Citadel Squig Orange. Onto the parchment, which I highlight using Citadel Screaming Skull, glazing on the upward surfaces and edges. I follow this up with a finer highlight of Vallejo Elfic Flesh. I move on to Dorn Yellow, highlighting the brown rope across his shoulder, as well as the very edges of our red bits. On the darker hair, I begin highlighting with Citadel Dark Reaper, which I then follow with Citadel Thunderhawk Blue. Moving on to the fur cloaks, I'm using Vallejo Heavy Sienna, which I apply with a dry brush. Next is Citadel Mournfang Brown, and a final touch of Ushabti Bone, all applied with a dry brush. The lighter fur is base coated with Reaper Golden Shadow, Golden Skin, and Golden Blonde in various amounts, highlighted with Screaming Skull. Now I want to make his hat look like worn leather, so I begin highlighting with stippling motion, creating the appearance of scratches and nicks across the leather. I then glaze Citadel Rhinox hide over the leather, bringing the colors in line and making it look more natural. Next are fine black lines that emphasize the contours of the hat and define the shape of the larger scratches. I follow the same process with this guy's shield, but with longer streaks to mimic wood grain. I modeled the feathers after those of the Mongolian golden eagles, which are whiter towards the base and darker brown towards the tips. The white scars, while not strictly Mongolian, take a lot of influence from their culture, or at least a Western interpretation of it. I want to bring in those details where I can in a respectful manner. The gems that hold these feathers in place are painted with Vallejo Light Green, Citadel Moot Green, and lastly, Reaper Alien Goo. The freehand on this banner was a big obstacle for me. I've never done any freehand like this on a model before. I drew a design in pencil and tried to trace that image with paint. I had to redo this several times until my expectations and frustrations leveled out into something that I could live with. For the lettering on this parchment, I got the finest tip micron pen that I could find and just did some little squiggles to represent some abstract text. Next comes the freehand squad markings that the white scars like to put on their knee pads. I block in the outline with pure white, which was easy to wipe away if I messed up, and followed that up with Mephiston red. These guys are proud members of the first squad of the Brotherhood. I follow the same method on the sergeant's leg. I definitely meant to draw the 5th Brotherhood, and I didn't forget to finish the design on the other side of his leg, in case you were wondering. The eyes came next, using the same color buildup that I used on the gems earlier.
Damn.
The bare head of the sergeant is next. I mainly play Death Guard, so healthy skin is a little out of my wheelhouse. I wanted to try my best to represent a Northern Asian skin tone. There are a wide variety of climates throughout Mongolia, with a wide range of temperatures. From what I could gather, this Northern Asian skin tone is known for being rather flushed when compared to Southern skin tones. So for base coats, I went with rich browns and reds. I then started highlighting with Ushabti bone with a little green mixed in to desaturate the color. I glazed in the brown base coats and worked the paint back and forth until I got something I was happy with. What I hope reads as a non-Caucasian skin tone. While representation of other cultures and races in gaming is improving, I want to take every opportunity I can to get some diversity into my hobby. There's a whole world of people and cultures out there, and I want to see them on the tabletop. Upon induction into the chapter, every Space Marine participates in ritualistic scarring, denoting their new identity in the Brotherhood. They cast aside any grievances and rivalries of their old lives and become White Scars. We're nearing the end now. The last steps are to push the white highlights even more. If I were more aggressive in the airbrush phase, this step wouldn't be as necessary, and the results may have been a little smoother. But here we are. I reapply some of our shade color as a glaze to push the transitions around the model and emphasize the shadows. The last step is to paint the base rim the color of your choice. I'm going with black. And here they are. I tried so many new techniques and new colors with this project, and it was frustrating at times. But in the end, I learned so much, and I ended up with a bunch of dudes that I'm really proud of. I want to thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, stay cozy.